Well, first of all, let's start by saying congratulations on the new gig, right? I'm president and CEO of Louisville Tourism. Tell me, first of all, how that feels. I know that is a big deal right now in this time, especially where we are in history.
Sure. Well, I'm not going to go to history, but I will say I'm looking forward to the new role, and it's just a great opportunity to, bring our visitors back. Karen Williams and I have been friends for a long time. She's the reason I'm in Louisville. And so we make a great team. We're a dynamic duo. So I'm going to miss her tremendously. But I'm looking forward to, number one, like I said, bringing our visitors back and then continuing to move the destination forward.
When I was talking about history with pandemic and racial equity issues and things that are going on with that, it really is a difficult time right now for tourism. Before I get to that, though, you did make some history by getting this post, did you not, though?
I'm not sure. Is there?
I thought you were the first African American to hold this post. Is that correct?
Well, yes, in Louisville, yes. And I think most of the presidents and CEOs of Louisville Tourism have been in place for a while. So, the organization was formed in 1968. So yeah, from that perspective, yes, I'm the first, followed by the first woman to hold the post. And yes, I'd be the first African American to hold the post.
Do you pay attention to any of that or not?
I think it's important. Myself, I don't make as much of it because I like to focus in on the fact that I've earned that. I've been in this industry over 30 years, but I do understand in order to bring more diversity into our industry, faces like mine, voices like mine need to be out there to talk to young folks, to talk to others who may consider our industry. So from that perspective, it's very important because our industry, like many industries, needs to continue to improve our numbers as it relates to diversity.
People need to be able to see themselves in order to kind of,
That's right.
Let's talk about the pandemic. So you're taking over at a time when the pandemic is in full throttle. So there are many challenges, that and racial equity. You have some objectives. We'll go through those quickly and then get to our Unfiltered Truth Collection, which is part of that work. Those challenges that you see ahead, your objectives are what, just quickly?
Yeah, well, first, and I said this at the top, we got to bring our visitors back. And we're beginning that process with our advertising right now. We just started this month. We've got an advertising campaign that's 300 miles out or a 5-hour drive from Louisville. We've got a promotion going on with hotels right now, primarily targeted towards Kentucky residents to come in and spend a night or two to get away from the house. We've got to drive our visitation back. We're still doing group conferences, although they're virtual. We're doing conferences. We're doing client events, all virtual, but we're continuing the momentum. We don't want to sit on our hands and wait for the pandemic to end. Most of what we've seen from some data that Americans are ready to travel. They're ready to start making plans. And so we've picked up our intensity with advertising and marketing. So as Americans are planning for the spring and the summer, Louisville will be one of those major considerations.
Let's talk about racial equity. And one of the things that you've done before you were named president and CEO, it's the work that you've also been doing. And a lot of that is on diversity and inclusion. And what we're getting ready to talk about with this collection, this is just part of the work that you've already been doing, correct?
Yeah, we jumped in and did 3 things. We created a Black Tourism Advisory Council. And this is a group of local African Americans that may be in the hospitality industry or just may be a stakeholder. And we wanted to bring this group together so that, how can we make sure that the Black community is connected to tourism? When we have big conventions here, when leisure visitors are here, how can we make that connection? how can we make sure that when African-American visitors come to town, that they can experience all that Louisville has to offer. So we brought this group together to help inform, to see our materials, to connect us within the community. We want to make sure that tourism and hospitality is connected to the Black community. So that was the first thing we did. The second thing we did was we began diversity, equity, inclusion training for our industry. How do we make our industry a welcoming industry? So when you come visit, we want to make sure everyone feels welcome. So we did a DEI training in July. We did another one in October, and we're planning the next for March. And again, this is for our industry to get some training on how to be more welcoming. And I think the sort of the final piece from a Louisville tourism perspective is that we did a diversity, equity, inclusion audit of our organization. We want to make sure we're leading by example, that we're walking the talk, that what we want from our community. So to look at our hiring practices, our marketing materials, our purchasing. So we completed that back in the fall, and we've got that process ongoing within our own walls of the organization. So those are sort of the three primary things we've done in Louisville tourism as it relates to, and you know, Rachel, I think one of the things I think is important coming off of 2020, you know, whether you're in healthcare or manufacturing or communication, you need to do what you need to do in your lane to make your industry better. And that's what we're trying to do from a Louisville tourism perspective. I can't solve everything in this community, but we certainly want to try to do things within our own lane and for our own industry, and thinking about the visitor with that lens.
The totality of the visitor, all people who come, right? And that's what you have to make sure. Are we serving everybody who comes? And with this Unfiltered Truth collection, let's give a synopsis of what it is. This is in our newsletter, and we're doing different things about this collection in this particular newsletter. So tell us what a synopsis of this and how it came to be.
Well, I'll tell you, to give you a little bit of history, and it really sort of started with prior to the pandemic, about 11% of our visitation was African American. And so we said to ourselves, and this was probably late 2018, I believe, probably late 2018, how can we increase the 11% African American visitation to Louisville? And so we began working with our attractions here to curate history, to figure out, you know, what history do we have that hasn't been told? And we work to curate that data, to learn more, to gather information. Along the way, we created some partnerships with the National Civil Rights Trail, with the Black Bourbon Society, the Kentucky Department of Tourism, and the African American Travel Conference, which is a conference that we're going to host, hopefully, at late March, early April. So we're curating information, we're creating new partnerships, and then our tourism department jumped in and began to create this program, which became the Unfiltered Truth collection. And it's just been neat to see the work of all of these different facilities, including the Fraser, you know, Evan Williams and Churchill Downs and Locust Grove, the African American Heritage Center, you know, all Roots 101, all of these facilities have worked to uncover history and a truth that hadn't been told yet. And it's just been a fantastic process for our community. And again, you know, Rachel, you asked a question earlier about, you know, just sort of the impact of this. And again, we're in our lane, but we're impacting the community in our lane. Yes, this has been developed and we want more visitors to come to town and have an interest in it. But as this, this is not, the Unfiltered Truth Collection is not something that was developed for Black History Month. This is ongoing exhibits that will take place in these facilities as we, again, try to grow our African American visitation. So what you hope from that is that as time goes on, you have, school students coming through and experiencing this history from their own community, learning more about their own community and the history of what, good things that have happened, but the story just wasn't told. And so I'm excited for that. And again, you when you think about our industry, you hope that the excitement of a young person coming into a museum or attraction and learning about history gets them interested and wanting to do more with a museum, attraction, or a hotel or a convention center. So we've got grand ideas, but we've got some good partners, and it's we're going to launch this next month. So I'm really excited about it.
I am. And just for a couple of things. So, like you said, like for us, it's the African American experience through bourbon. For Locust Grove, it's unfolding the story of the enslaved at Locust Grove. For the Kentucky Derby Museum, it's Black jockeys who really never got their due. I mean, they were the mainstay of the industry when it first began. So we're telling the stories of many of these heroes, like you said, that haven't been told before. And I'm curious, do you know if we're among the first cities in the country to do this? I mean, I visited other places and I've seen tourism experiences. I don't know if I've seen something like this. I don't know that we're the first, but I have to believe we're among a handful doing this. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if we're the first, but I don't want to be the first. Or it doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter whether the first. I want to tell our story. Rachel, I think we've got great visitor pillars in this community, whether it's coming for bourbon or coming for Churchill or coming for Muhammad Ali, great pillars. But what you do when you add this type of stories, the stories that you were just talking about at your facility and Kentucky Derby and Roots 101, that enriches the visitation for the visitor. Yes, I may have come because I'm interested in Muhammad Ali or the Kentucky Derby or bourbon, but having this history just enriches the experience. And I'm so excited to have this experience. And I think, to your point of whether we're the first, certainly there's plenty of African American Black history around the country. I'm not sure I've seen where it's been built as a collection.
Right.
And so I'm hopeful that will be engaging. Certainly for our community coming off of 2020, there's a lot there. And I think we have a great brand around the country. If that perception, and I say if that perception has taken any type of hit, I think I'm excited to be able to add something else to that narrative. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to tell this story. So whatever perceptions you may have, if they're great, this gives you even more reason to want to come. If your perception is, a little curious or you're unsure, we're giving you a reason to say, what, that is so neat. I want to come. I want to experience that. And so we're very bullish on this, on the Unfiltered Truth. We're very excited about it. Our partners are very excited about it. We're going to market it and advertise it in our typical feeder markets. So we're bullish on it. Yes.
I understand. Well, and I also want to point out the fact this was all in development pre-Breonna Taylor, but as we've both said prior to recording on this, it is resonating now, not just in Louisville, Kentucky, but throughout the country, these fuller stories and that. So the timing on it is very interesting and resonating with a lot of people. And we wanted to point that out as well. I guess my last question for you, because I know you've got a lot on your plate, and again, congratulations on everything that you're doing. Your hopes for Louisville moving forward, where you see us as you take on this big job, because it is a big job during this very tumultuous time.
Sure. You know, if you and we can't take away 2020, but if you just didn't think about 2020 for a moment, think about, in our lane of visitation, the new hotels, the new convention center, the new distilleries downtown. We just built a new soccer facility, the new track facility. Rachel, I'm not sure if you've seen the new track facility. I just see a
I
lot of
haven't yet.
it is fantastic. But you think about the infrastructure we have in this community. We're built, we're ready to get back to all the visitation that we had. We had 19 million people visiting Louisville annually prior to the pandemic. And 75% of those visitors were repeat visitors. So I'm so optimistic about where we're going to be able to go in this community from a visitor perspective. I think we're going to bring our visitor back. I think there's interest here. I think people love our culture, and so we're real excited about it. So I'm optimistic. I think every destination in this country has challenges post 2020. I don't know that every destination is in the country has some of the assets that we have. So I'm bullish on that and optimistic about where we're going to be in the future.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We're excited to participate in the Unfiltered Truth Collection to tell that fuller story. And we wish you nothing but the best, but we know you're bullish and going to have the hard work to put into it. And thank you so much.
Thanks, Rachel.
Take care.
You too.